Armageddon Steel Legion vs Necrons 3,000 points. The sound of battle started with the sound of the screaming damned as the Shadow Sword fired its volcano cannon directly into the heavy construct's legs. The machine buckled as the leg melted and then buckled completely from the nuclear blast fed from a nuclear reactor. Its movement drastically slowed. It then received a withering barrage from the Lemon Rust Demolisher tank squadron, led by the tank company commander similarly outfitted. Last cannon fire and multi-melter rounds spattered into the sizable alien abomination, armor plating glowing orange as it became compromised or gaping holes blown clean through from the maximum range of many of the weapons. The tank commander stippled a line of heavy stubber fire across the construct as he observed the initial damage with satisfaction. His gamble to get barely in range of the powerful short-ranged weapons had paid off better than expected. The Xenos machine's shields only stopped the Demolisher shells. Various infantry positions open-fired with their many last cannons and further pelted the monstrosity. The driver further confirmed this by putting a hunter-killer missile directly into the body of the machine with perfect precision. The Necron overlord sent his forces forward from his command barge and escort annihilation barges. A crafty technomancer restored temporary use of the crippled leg, allowing the heavy construct to lurch forward rapidly as its self-repair system kicked in, trying to seal the gaping holes in its plating. Clouds of Canoptek scarabs poured forward, filling the skies with thousands of tiny black dots. Behind them, Canoptek spiders tended to their needs. The construct fired its devastating nuclear weapons of its own. Instead of creating a massive blast and mushroom cloud like the Shadow Sword, it drew clean lines right through both plasma cannon spansons of the older Lemon Rust Demolisher of the squadron. It had been around a long time, and even had a different pattern of main gun than its counterparts. Instead of the anti-vehicle spansons, it had been outfitted with plasma cannons, which now were completely removed from the chassis. Internal explosions racked the tank, but its crew soldiered on despite its near demise. With neither side at a distinct battlefield advantage or tactical goals completed, Commissar Yarrick continued to direct fire into the construct. The Shadow Sword fired again, dealing a terrible nuclear blast with screams of the damned that shut down one of the devastating guns on the target temporarily. Its last cannons joined the chorus of anti-tank fire pouring into the oncoming threat. The Demolisher squadron repositioned and opened fire at near point-blank range, denying the shadowy cover cast from the Technomancer on their quarry. Despite this, most of the multi-melter shots missed completely. Those that did hit found their way home and burrowed deep into the machine, once again shattering its full mobility as the leg gave out again. The Demolisher shells pounded further into it, staggering many of the secondary weapon arrays. The lighter weapons fired into the approaching scarab swarms and reduced their numbers some. Once again, the infantry supported fire with more last cannons from trench lines and broken buildings. The Necrons surged forward and hit the front lines. Infantry were engaged by scarabs and spiders, and the Lemon Rust squadron found the menacing murder bot towering over them with angry strides. Realizing they had not removed the threat quick enough, the quick-thinking tank commander swiveled his gun slightly and blew a hasty round into the machine's hydraulic line, seen from below more distinctly at the last second. Its main forceps weapons, capable of tearing tanks apart with ease, collapsed completely. The Titanic machine crashed haphazardly into the battle line and completely crushed the lead Lemon Rust as well as damaging the one next to it. The heavily damaged Lemon Rust was picked off by support attacks from Canoptek Wraiths right before the behemoth stumbled. The Steel Legion continued to hold their defensive positions and fire into the threats now in very close range with mixed success. The spiders kept repairing the scarabs as fast as they could be destroyed. But pressing matters had not been dealt with just yet. As the heavy construct attempted to re-engage its forceps to stand up, the tank commander and his remaining Demolisher tank fired. The multimelters hit point blank into what looked to be its face but were all stopped by its shield. However, the tank commander's last cannon found its home and put a round clean through its ruined iron out the back of the chassis. It collapsed in a pool of hydraulic fluids and xenochemicals and finally died. The tank commander wasted no time in revelry and ordered the main guns swung around with devastating fire placed in the middle of the annihilation barges closing on the north trench line. The grav plate on one gave out completely and it crashed to the earth, unable to move. The Shadow Sword followed suit, with the mushroom cloud leaving the Overlord's staff of light cut in half. The Lord glowed with nuclear heat, but its protective systems kept the worst of the damage staved off. Last cannons beat into the unit where possible, but overall the Necrons had arrived on the front line and was buckling the central position. The Necrons were reeling from the loss of their heavy construct, but its drawing of fire had allowed them to secure the center field with their slower immortal infantry. Though out of range, they ensured nothing could leave the safety of the trenches or buildings. They closed in on the north flank and cleaned the trench out of all life. The center held, a lone sergeant not daring to falter in front of Lord Commissar Yarrick. They were forced to abandon the crippled annihilation barge, trapped out of range and unable to move, but slowly repairing. Knowing they were pressed on the defensive, the Steel Legion dug in and pressed back. The Shadow Sword once again blasted the annihilation barges, but the Necron Overlord's armor was made out of sturdy Xeno material that was capable of dissipating the worst of the heat. Despite this, the lower weapon of the platform was blown clean off, leaving the Lord nothing but his unbridled anger and one remaining hand to strike at those who opposed him. The Demolisher cannons hammered into them again, removing the last of the weapons from its escort as well. The Wraiths kept winking in and out of real space, making it difficult for the secondary weapons on the Lemon Rust tanks from being effective. They fell back as they became too hard pressed but were caught by the Wraiths and battle resumed. The Necrons, having finished the front line for the middle and north flank off, pressed into the middle. Commissar Yarrick was engaged by a massive swarm. He and his platoon command squad, minus Stormpriest, and the heavy weapons squad next to him became embroiled in battle. The Spiders removed the last cannon teams with ease, but the Scarabs found some trouble in dealing with the resilient guardsmen. Yarrick laid into the swarms with ferocity unmatched, his power claw swatting hundreds out of the sky. The platoon commander did likewise, his power sword shattering and shortening out the circuits of those around him. The minor Stormpriest tried to do likewise with his chain sword, but replaced years of skill and training with enthusiasm instead. His cry to the Emperor did empower the squad to fight harder, as did the bannerman holding aloft the head of the orc that Yarrick slew and took his power claw from at the cost of his own arm years ago. The remaining squad members flawlessly pummeled many of the swarm into the dirt, and the tide of battle turned in their favor as they began to push back. Knowing the end of the battle was near, and rapidly losing strategic control of the field, Yarrick ordered all units to hold their own. Each unit was carefully placed in a very defensive position in the eventuality it lead to this moment, and the preparation paid off. The Demolishers fired into the Spiders approaching the Shadow's Word to soften them up. They were promptly removed from the face of the planet by a near point-blank nuclear blast a moment later. Large amounts of bolter fire peppered the swarms, and their numbers finally began to lessen. The ongoing struggle with the Lemon Rust squadron took its toll and the last tank follower fell, leaving the tank commander to continue to occasionally fall back and shoot, dragging the Necrons along. A last cannon round dropped the last annihilation barge, allowing Yarrick to charge the crippled Necron Overlord. The machine proved difficult to fight with a power claw, and Yarrick was injured for his efforts. The Necrons pushed in harder, Spiders removing some of the last guardsmen from the center ruins and Scarab swarms beating against the Shadow's Word in futile. The Necron's Overlord raised a ruined stump in triumph as Yarrick darted under its barge. Grabbing it by the grav plate, he ripped it from its mooring and then slammed the barge into the building using his powerful augmentation in his claw. The last thing the Lord saw was a piece of rebar shoved directly through its eye socket. It sparked and went limp. Green tendrils picked at its ruined corpse, and what parts were salvageable were teleported to a tomb world, with an unknown fate for the hapless fool who tried to best the Lord Commissar Yarrick. Pushing towards the next threat, Yarrick fired his bale iron bolt pistol into the spider closing in on him, both damaging it. He charged, swinging at it and clipping its shoulder and removing a leg. In turn it shoved a claw into his ruined body, his power field failing to protect him. Commissar Yarrick collapsed as it turned its attention elsewhere. The Shadow Sword fired into a nest of Scarabs. While heavily overkill, its pounding weaponry secured many dead swarms. The Tech Priest abandoned his repairs and dashed to claim the objective nearby. The tank commander struggled to maintain his footing and fell back again and was re-engaged by the enemy. The Necrons simply closed in for the kill. The last squad of veterans were removed from the field forcefully, and the tank commander was engaged by the Spider and a large swarm of Scarabs. Metal straining, he still held his own. The battle was not over yet, and Yarrick was not done. He staggered to his feet and charged into melee, heavily damaging the Spider that dare strike him down. He was once again struck down in return, but he drew its attention. The Shadow Sword removed the last of the scarabs near its position in cleansing nuclear fire supplemented by screams of the damned. The battle drew to a close as the tank commander's demolisher finally quit running. Then caught fire, and then exploded as the vengeful machine spirit lashed out at those who would tear it down after such glory. Scarabs flew in every direction in its fiery demise. The Necrons retreated and Yarrick was pulled into the Shadow Sword before they had a chance to abduct him, as his refusal to die was surely of interest to the Necron Empire. The battlefield was lost to the Necrons, but they suffered heavily to achieve victory.